Well, hey guys, welcome to the studio. Today I'm looking for an inexpensive electronic drum kit for use here in the studio and possibly live work in my new picnic band. I know this much about it. A lot of the information that I have is pretty outdated. I'm going to reach out to some people and I need your help. Give me some advice. What should I be looking for that I can get something decent and not break the bank? Let's get to it. Now, I want to keep this under $500. The one that caught my eye is from a company called Donner. Not a big name in electronics, or are they? Inexpensive Chinese stuff. I own a couple pieces of their smaller gear here in the studio and find it's well built, low priced, and I'm in love with it. This is the Donner DED 200. Let's check out some other options. And coming in at $450, this is the Alesis Nitro Mesh Electronic Drum Kit. And right around that price, we do have the Simmons Titan 50. Simmons, one of the older brand names from probably way back in the 80s and possibly earlier. It's a brand name I recognize. Unfortunately, this seems only to be available through Guitar Center / Musician's Friend. Not something that I find too enticing in my purchase. Now, I could be wrong, but I did search for some Roland electronic kits under $500, and what I'm seeing is individual pieces. I think I would like something more than an individual cymbal for $467. Let's move on. Yamaha made something interesting, the DTX 450K, but it seems it's no longer available. So I'm going to start my search there and compare some specifications and look at some reviews, and I'm going to see what I find out. Now, I did find some interesting information and some decent reviews. I'm a little bit hesitant because a lot of the YouTube reviews I see, I kind of get the feeling the reviewer was provided the kit for free. And while that may not affect their review, it might affect their review. So I asked my nephew.
I'm on my second kit. The first kit that I got off of Facebook Marketplace, and it was like an old Alesis Nitro kit with mesh or with rubber pads. The new ones all come with mesh pads. I don't even think you can get a Nitro that has rubber pads anymore. I paid like $100 for it off of Facebook Marketplace. It was dirt cheap. And then I played it for about 2 weeks, and I was like, I want something that's more like a drum set, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so what did you find lacking in your first kit that you wanted to fix?
One thing that I like about the kit that I have now is the sizes of the drums. In the first kit, it was all tiny rubber pads. You know, the toms were the same size as the snare. Everything was just kind of standard. The kit that I have now, I think it's a 10 or a 12-inch snare, and then two different size toms. So I have 4 toms. My 2 rack toms are the same size. I want to say they're like 8-inch, and then my floor toms are 10-inch, and then the snare is 12-inch, something like that. I don't remember the exact sizes. The point is, they're different, and it's not all just a universal size. Another thing was the mesh heads, because you can tune the mesh heads, and you can, increase or decrease the tension to make it feel more like you're hitting an actual drum, which is nice in comparison to a bunch of rubber pads. But probably the most important thing is you have to have a kit that has a kick drum pad. There's a lot of some of the lower end kits, they just have an electronic pedal, so there's no beater, and that doesn't feel like you're playing a kick drum. I also looked for a kit that had a bell on the ride cymbal. That's super important, because lower end kits, they don't necessarily have a bell. They may have 1 zone or 2 zones, or or whatever. It may have like an edge and a bow, but no bell.
And so your first kit was Alesis with rubber pads
Yeah.
for cheap, $100 off
Yeah.
Marketplace.
Yeah.
And you're now in Simmons?
Yeah, I have a Simmons SD 1250. So it's the 1200 plus it gives you, I think the difference is a second crash cymbal and an extra and 2 floor toms instead of 1 floor tom. Every kit at its price point has pros and cons. It just depends what you like. You know, the cheap Roland kits, you know, Roland tends to have smaller size drums than the Simmons kit. So if you go with like Alesis or Simmons, you can kind of get like more things to hit. And they generally tend to be like, you know, they size up a little quicker than like the Yamaha and Roland kits. But if you get a Yamaha kit or a Roland kit, you know, the Roland kits have a lot better sounds built into the module. So for someone like you, if you're recording and you're just going to take the MIDI inputs and you want more stuff to hit, right, and you want it to feel like, you know, closer to an actual drum set, Simmons wouldn't be a bad idea, because you're going to take the MIDI inputs out of the module, you're going to put them in a VST and or in a DAW, and you're going to use whatever to make whatever sounds you want.
Right.
So you don't really care that much about the sounds that come out of the module. For me, I play on an amp, and now that I'm hitting it, I'm like, gee, I sure wish the sounds on the module were a little bit cooler, but at least I have extra stuff to hit and it's a little bit bigger. The snare that you see there is kind of small, and it comes on that swing arm. The snare that I got on my kit has a snare stand, right? And that just like makes it feel more like a drum kit to me, having a snare that's like kind of sitting between your legs and in that position. I like that you get 2 crash cymbals. That was something that I didn't want to forego in my kit, was having an additional crash cymbal. Now, if you get a module, or if you get a kit that doesn't have 2 crash cymbals, you can buy them separately and add them on later. But I personally like having 2, because just for the style of music that I play, I feel like it's pretty essential to have 2 crash cymbals. I like having more things to hit, right? That's what it comes down to.
So that was my nephew James with his answers to some of my questions. Also, on our Facebook group, Recording Tips, I've asked the same question, and I know we have some professional drummers and some good engineers in there, so I'm getting their feedback as well. You can help me. Give me some information down in the comments, or pop over to our Facebook group, Recording Tips, and get involved in the discussion that normally parallels the videos on this channel. Click subscribe while you're at it. And this is an ongoing search. I will probably be pulling the trigger within a few days, trying to keep it under $500. And thank you to everyone who's given me their insights on how to go about choosing a kit for here in the studio. We got a lot of work to do. Let's get to it.
Uncle Steve, how you doing?
Doing good.